Hi, I'm Alan Ross. I'm here at the IEEE PES T&D, that's a lot of acronyms, conference. This is the 2020 version that is actually being held in 2022. These interviews that we're conducting is with thought leaders on the future of the power industry. So enjoy. My guest is Kelly Watt. Kelly is the founder and CEO, president, and main Goomba, I think, of Visual Plan. I met Kelly at a conference earlier this year, wasn't it, in January, IR conference, and I was fascinated by what I saw, so I wanted Kelly to share with us from an IEEE perspective, what does it mean? So welcome, thank you for joining us, it's great to have you.
Thank you, I appreciate being here.
So the first question I got for you is, when I stood at your booth at the IR conference, I stood there a long time and I just kept saying, what is this? What is this? Okay, we're going to get to that in a minute. But before we get to that, Kelly, the industry is changing. And I know that this is your first time to an IEEE event. It's pretty overwhelming. We're going to be doing another one of these next April. We're going to be doing it in, it's not
San Diego. Right.
San Diego. It's not the PES T&D, it's the PES Grid Edge Conference. There's my little work.
Right, I think we're going to be there too.
Good, because I'm on the steering committee for that, and I think it's going to be fascinating. As much as this is generation transmission down to distribution, that is distribution down to the grid edge. And so what I want to talk to you about today is from a thought leadership perspective, and you are a thought leader, you think ahead of the game. What do you see changing in the power industry?
Well, I see there's two driving forces here that we're kind of working with, and those two driving forces are the enhancement of techniques to work with reality capture, so 3D visualization, and also big data. So how do we take these two things that can be overcomplicated, how do we simplify them? How do we make them operational? Okay. So that's what we're kind of really trying to do is operationalize the reality capture and then integrate the big data.
Okay, that's an easy word for you to say because you are reality capture.
Right.
Okay, focus on that a little bit. What does that mean?
So reality capture from my perspective can be anything from terrestrial LiDAR, so a high accuracy measurement, okay, down to photogrammetry, so taking photographs, stitching them together into 3D spaces. Okay. Or a simple way is like a Google Street View or this kind of 3D immersive environment that we can interact with.
Okay, and how does that apply to what you think is going to be happening in the electrical industry? Speak to utilities for a minute. What does that mean for utilities?
Yeah, so I think having a better understanding of our site conditions is key and critical for us and our partners like Burns & McDonnell that need to have a high touch point, especially with remote critical infrastructure where the time to get to site is difficult. Right. So if we have a carbon copy in 3D that we can rely on to communicate, collaborate, make decisions, whether it be in the build design or into the operate maintain phases of working with facilities and assets, we can remove miscommunications and mistakes and rework and things that happen every day. Okay, so digital twins is hot right now. Everybody talks about digital twins. Yeah. How do you relate? How do you, this capture, the reality capture you're talking about, how does that relate to digital twins? Yeah, so a digital twin is a carbon copy or model or a replica of a physical structure. But if we use the term digital twins, it must mean a few different things. It must mean we are using historical and current information. So this is an evolving thing. It's not a static model. It's not just a BIM model. Right. The other thing, we have to feed information in and out, and there's got to be some kind of synchronization. So that's what makes a digital twin unique. So we're more of a visualization hub that feeds into a digital twin. We depend on other operational softwares, human interaction, other things to make it a living thing. And that's what makes it unique. Yeah.
You mentioned data. And I've never thought of the reality capture as data. Yeah. That is fascinating, because that's what got me when I met you at your booth, and I'm going, wait a minute, that's not data as I think. Data is a whole bunch of I and O's coming into the situation. How is reality morphed into data?
Well, and I think it's evolving to become a data source if it can be repeated and captured over time. Just like you're getting telemetry from your equipment, we can get visualization from your facility, and that we can make decisions based on that data. It is a point and it is a recording, and we can use it to make decisions.
So if you're trying to train somebody, you're putting a training program together, yep, and now you got to do it faster, better, cheaper, because it's hard to get and keep people. Yes. it would seem to me that it would be a tool, an incredibly valuable tool to use in training people prior to them going into a situation. They can see the situation. Would that be true?
That's absolutely accurate. So, a digital twin is a knowledge management tool to bring in information and share it in a repeatable, accurate, and geospatial way. And that the last part is really important.
Okay, because you're going to have to explain geospatial.
Let me explain that. So in our world, we are very tabular and report driven.
Right.
We open a book and we read it to the end.
Right.
We open a spreadsheet, we scroll up and down columns and rows. But when we're in the real world, we look around and point to something. And I want to know information about that. But if I want to need information, I have to go into all these data silos to find that information.
Right.
So if we can organize information geospatially, meaning how we look at the real world, and we can access it way more efficiently, and it just increases the ability to do things and function better.
I love that. I mean, geospatial. That's why you can see why I got excited when I met Kelly the first time. So we looked at the world, we looked at the future. Tell me what you think and how Visual Plan is positioning yourself for that new future. And I know you're relatively new to the electrical market, but look ahead and tell me where you're going. How are you going to meet the needs of these new issues? Yeah,
so I think that interoperability is the key here, and the convergence of technologies, and having standards that we can do this, whether it be work order systems or integrity systems. All of these different software and technologies are making things more efficient, but more complicated if they don't talk to each other. So we're trying to consolidate everything visual, so imagery, BIM, LiDAR, geospatial data, into a compact, easy to use platform that can bolt on to operational tools. So that's where we see ourselves kind of helping the industry to interact with 3D information in a different way. But I do think the two big drivers are big data from analytics and from telemetry and SCADA data, and making decisions both with human and with automation, but also having that understanding, where is that asset? Where am I going? And I just wrote an article on this, on the problem that we have in issue identification to remediation, and there's a big gap there.
Okay.
And how do I take a PDF report that has a finding, and how do I work that through approval chains and through the management of change to an actual fix in the field?
Right. In the new ISO 55000 legislation, or regulate, we say legislation because if you're not going to be ISO 55000, you're just like somebody not ISO 9000. It's a standard that's coming and is fast becoming the standard. One of the principles in there is the principle of line of sight.
Yeah.
Right. And you just mentioned that the tool, what you do, gives all management. It's at operational level up to the C level. That's line correct. Of sight. Speak a little bit about how you can affect that.
So the thing I think is we all communicate through seeing things as humans, so no matter our discipline.
Right.
So I can take a CEO and explain a process or a change using visualization far more effectively than I can explain it with a 2D diagram or through a report. So it's an enabling tool to speak a same language. The other thing about having visualization, it's a accurate forensic record of what is there, as opposed to a human-created report. So we see gaps all the time when we go into a CMMS system looking at assets. Here's your asset list. Well, here's the real environment. Where are the gaps? There's missing assets in this list, and there's new assets here. There's been changeouts. So the nice thing is having that snapshot in time to be able to validate accurately at that exact point in time, this is exactly what was there, and this is where it is.
Right. And so when people bring about change, so somebody goes in and they install new relays in a substation or in an area, is there a way to make sure that gets captured accurately so that when you're looking at what you guys have done and then you say, but that's not reality anymore, how do you maintain reality in a vision or a visual way?
So, you have to have a method that you can record this over time, because the record that you've created at the first time of doing the capture becomes old over time. Just like our CAD drawings, our BIM models, and how do you keep that up? So being able to recapture quickly. Right. So the two fast things is using a 360 camera and a hard hat walking around, and using a video capture, very fast. Or even when I'm going to be doing this, I'm using my iPhone and a LiDAR tool on my phone to create LiDAR models. And that's coming. The accuracy is not the same as a terrestrial scanner, but no joke. I just scanned the Formula One collar over there, and I can't wait to process it and show it. It's really, really cool tech.
Okay, I want you to show me that when you finish it. Okay,
We'll definitely show that to you.
All right. Last question I got for you. You went to the Mardi Gras thing last night for IEEE, and you mentioned something about Jenga.
Yes.
And engineers around a Jenga game.
We had so much fun. You know, we had 3 different platforms playing Jenga, and you put a bunch of engineers in the room, couple drinks, and you give them a problem. And we had, I swear, probably a dozen people around this Jenga trying to figure this out. But it relates back to visualization.
Yeah.
We're visually trying to solve a problem by looking at it from different angles and different vantage points. And I thought it was really a really kind of a cool thing and a lot of fun.
So IEEE is not just knowledge, it's also a lot of fun. So thank you for coming. Hope to see you at the Grid Edge Conference next April. So
Looking
Kelly,
forward to being
enjoyed
there.
it. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Alan.